because the cameras at the yeshiva were very good, and they have the information. So I have to say, but they were carjacking, so I'm not sure, it's not that the cars belong to them. I'm not sure how many cars were carjacked. So I don't know any of the other police details, but hopefully, and their faces were on the camera too. So I'm hoping that all of
they'll
that
find them.
will lead to a quick capture. And because these people are just generally dangerous. Anyway, they were already, they shot somebody else in critical condition. I didn't say any names about that person. And so we don't know.
Sorry,
So
Ellyn,
ladies,
what is carjacking? Like, because they
I'm
stole
sorry?
a car? Carjacking means they stole a car.
Yes, that's like
first?
a hijacking, only you steal someone's car at gunpoint.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
They'll find them with the faces and the car.
They'll
the car
find
they could
them.
switch.
There were 3 cars involved. They're going to find them. And God willing, soon. All right, ladies, let's start with our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Okay, ladies, it's so nice to see all of you. And we are here today on the 11th of Elul. So we have talked about before that there are 40 days for our path of teshuvah, our path of return to our correct path, the path we want to be on. And that path started on Rosh Chodesh Elul and goes for 40 days until we reach the Yom Kippur. And excuse me, before I carry on, I also have to announce, I just saw that Marcia Bloom is here, that Marcia just let me know this morning that our dear friend Dale Marcus's husband, Jerry, passed away. She's the one who always had the background of the Parsha for us. So I'm so sorry. So our learning should be in the merit of in his memory as well of Jerry.
Amen.
Oh, and I don't have any further information yet about the funeral or anything like that, but that was Dale's husband, Jerry. Okay, ladies, a lot of things going on. Okay, back to our 40 days. So this 40-day period, on one hand, it's a 40-day count, but there are those who also put it into 4 10-day periods. 4 10-day periods based on the idea that one of the acronyms, the most famous acronym for the month of Elul is Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. And each of those words ends with the letter Yud. Ani ends with the Yud, L'Dodi ends with the Yud, V'Dodi ends with a Yud, and Li ends with a Yud. Those Yuds are each equal. Their numerical equivalent is 10, which means that the concluding letters of that acronym kind of give us a hint to the 40 days, the 10 times 4 of each of those letters. And for that reason, there are then those who break up those 40 days into 4 periods of 10 days each, which means since today is the 11th, we are in the first day of the second quarter of the second batch of 10 days that will add up to 40. I personally liked learning this very much because I think 40 days is somehow too long for me to keep track of. I think I do better in a smaller amount of time. I feel like it's more of a package of 10 days. When they advertise things, when people want to have quick results, it's like, 10 days to a new you. They don't say 40 days to a new you because people are like, 40 days, I don't have 40 days. I want something quicker because our attention span is just not so long. And I hate to admit it, but mine's in that category. So I do better personally with a 10-day period of time to focus on. So this is day 11. I also like the idea that I found this out right when it was starting a new period. So it's like, okay, so if I kind of missed the first 10 days, I wasn't paying attention. Now I have another new start. Plus I always like new beginnings. So if I can begin 4 times, that makes me very happy. So this is now beginning the second period of 10 days. So How should we start? And as we see, the world can change so quickly in just a few days. Things can just, with what happens in our own community of something so tragic that we think we're going along with whatever it is that's happening in our life. And then all of a sudden something comes at us and just throws us. So I think 10 days also gives us a way to focus, because I already don't remember anything that really was happening, I don't know, more than 10 days ago. It's like it's already kind of out of my mind. So having a brief period of time to focus on is very helpful for me. It's also easier. So for example, to do something in memory of Shmuley, to say, I'm going to take the next 10 days to do something, to do an action, do a mitzvah or heighten a mitzvah that's going to be in his memory. And of course, it'd be great if we took it on for all 40 days, or if we took it on for the year, or for his shloshim until 30 days. But all of those things, it's just easier when we start off with more of a bite-sized piece. So was anybody at the funeral yesterday that was at Feldman's? Was anybody there? Okay, then I'm just going to share that I heard this. So it's already secondhand. Actually, it's third hand, but it was from somebody who was there. That Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, who's the Rosh Yeshiva, one of the Rosh Yeshivas of the yeshiva, spoke about Shmuley and said that he was such a kind person. Now, people often say that, especially after somebody has passed away. You say, oh, they were such a kind person. They were such a good person. They were so nice. So what was the kind of nice of Shmuley that Rabbi Kagan spoke about? He said that Shmuley had come to him and told him that he was having trouble sleeping. And the reason he was having trouble sleeping is not because of, general anxiety, like many of us may have had. It was because that he was concerned about one of the younger Bachrim, one of the younger students who seemed down. And he was concerned about his emotional well-being. And so Shmuley, was having trouble sleeping. This is something. And that he took the time to tell the Rosh Yeshiva, I'm having trouble sleeping because I'm concerned about this boy. Now, I don't know if this other boy was on the radar screen of the yeshiva, or if he was, I'm assuming that it's something that was not so bad that it had reached the higher levels, but it was something he noticed, that he was paying attention to other people. Now, mind you, Shmuley had just recently come to the yeshiva just a few months ago. So, it's not like he was a well-established person there. And then he happened to notice that somebody new was like having trouble. He himself was new, and yet he noticed somebody else who was down. This mindset is what we're going to call the kitesay mindset, because kitesay means, and that's the Parsha for this week, which is on page 1046 if you have the Stone Chumash, or is chapter 21, verse 10 of Devarim, of Deuteronomy. Kitesay la milchama, when you go out to war. The word kitesay means when you shall go out. And this idea of going out is normally we think of a war, and we're going to talk about in this kind of a war of general battles. And I'm not specifically yet about the Yetzer Hara, but this is about, go out and get them, go out and do it. Just go do it. This is more like a Nike commercial. This is more like go out and do it. That going out often is about going outside of our comfort zone, of being concerned with me, myself, and I, and what's comfortable for me, and what I normally do, and what I normally pay attention to, and just like my general routine. When I have a kitesay approach, that means I'm getting ready to go out. What's very interesting is we're used to the term Yetziat Mitzrayim, the leaving of Egypt. And we always call it the leaving of Egypt. And you think, well, that's because that's what we did. But what we want to pay attention to is that there had to be a Yetziah. There had to be an exodus, a going out of Egypt. And we know that that wasn't so easy to leave Egypt, that even though the Jewish people were slaves, there was a comfort level. There's always a comfort level with what we are used to, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. When I worked on Chai, the organization that we formed to address domestic abuse in the Jewish community, one of the issues that is addressed is, why don't women leave abusive relationships? And there are many reasons, but included in it is that people get used to it. They get used to their situation. They get used to even the drama. They get used to the cycle of violence. They get used to the whole thing. And the anxiety and the fear of going out. Now, sometimes their lives actually are in more danger by leaving. So that is a reality. So we never tell women, oh, well, you just need to leave, because they could end up getting murdered. So that's not necessarily the wisest advice. But psychologically, why people don't leave is because we're comfortable. So the idea of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of like, we have to remember every day Yetziat Mitzrayim. So when I'm remembering every day that I left Egypt, I'm like, okay, so I'm not a slave anymore. But I'm also cueing my brain for the day to say, you left something that was comfortable. They were slaves for 210 years. They knew nothing else. The ability to go out and to go outside of our comfort zone, whatever it is. It can be, we're very proud of our little grandchildren. Just yesterday, they started new schools in Florida. So, totally different. I mean, couldn't be more different than the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Just even how the schools look. In Florida, it reminds me more of California. The school's like this big spread out place with outdoor entrances and covered walkways. Our granddaughter's school before was on, a busy New York street, and the whole school was vertical. There was not even an outside. They would go to the park or something, or they had a rooftop. I don't know, something's like, the whole thing is completely different. She's brand new. They just moved into their house on Monday. She knows one person that our daughter, fixed her up with so they could have a play date. Our grandson started a pre-K. It's like, this is huge, going outside of your comfort zone. And it's not just little kids. We have an opportunity to do that every single day. Every single day, we have an opportunity to do something to take us outside of our comfort zone and to do something that pushes us a little bit. And it requires going out. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean physically out of your house. You can go outside of your comfort zone in your house by taking on a new responsibility, a new mitzvah, doing something different, anything that gives us the opportunity to see that we can grow. And the bottom line, that's what we're looking for during the month of Elul anyway, is if we're getting ready for Rosh Hashanah and a new year, we really want to say to God, I'm ready for a new year. And I'm ready for a year where I can grow. So growing by definition means I'm going to be doing something a little differently than I was doing it this year. If it's going to be a complete repeat, I don't really need a new year. I don't really need to be in this world. So we want to show that we can say kitesay. Now this challenge is called a milchama. It's called a battle. It is a battle. I remember when my sister was telling me about an eating program that she follows, that she's been very successful with. And she told me about it. And I actually have done it and very successful. I've been kind of off of it since COVID because I don't know, whatever. But anyway, when she was first telling me about it, I was like, oh, I don't want to. I don't want to eat differently. I don't want to. I want to do what I do. And even though it sounded really good, it's just like, oh, I don't want to. And that's in Hebrew, in Israel, you hear this phrase, and it's called ein li koach. Ein li koach means I don't have any strength. I don't have the energy for it. Ein li koach. And this describes really when you actually don't have any physical energy, or when you just don't really want to do something. Like you asked your kid to set the table, oh, ein li koach. That means I don't want to. I want to sit on the couch where I was. So ein li koach is the opposite of kitesay milchama, of going out and fighting this battle. The other is ein li koach, I'm sitting on the couch. So this is every day what our challenge is. a very interesting thing that comes to us, which gives a hint. I always wondered, why is it, other than the fact that this Parsha is read always during the month of Elul, when we're working on dealing with our Yetzer Hara, our evil inclination, and instead of just calling it evil inclination, I'll just call it our inclination to stay the way we are. Just one of we just follow the laws of physics, of which are that things stay how they are unless they are pushed out of their orbit. The things just stay. I forget, was it entropy? I forget what it is. One of those laws of physics. That's how we tend to be. Why do the rabbis so frequently talk about kitesay milchama, of going out to war, when it is talking about war? Why do they always say, oh, this is about the war with the Yetzer Hara? Why do they always say that? So there's an interesting grammatical reason, which is in Hebrew. If you're familiar with how Hebrew works with root words, and then words are expanded or further defined by prefixes and suffixes. So if you have the prefix in front of a word, la, that means to or toward. Okay, so kitesay la milchama would be when you go out to war. La milchama, to war. But it doesn't say la milchama. It says la milchama. You might think like, well, what's the difference with that? So if you were a Torah reader and you said la milchama, the Gabbai would correct you and say la milchama. Now, is that somebody just being like so particular? It's like, no, because la milchama means something else. La is a contraction of lamed, which means to, and ha, which means the. So instead of saying, because it's kind of hard to say, leha milchama, that does sound kind of hard to say. So in Hebrew, it gets contracted into, instead of le and ha, it turns into la. So you take the lamed for la and the ah from ha, and you make it la. That means to the war, with the definite article in front of it. Meaning, when you go out to the war, not a war, the war. So that's what is triggering the question. What is the war? The war, the battle, is the battle of our Yetzer Hara. Now, what's interesting is the word milchama has the word lechem in it. Lechem means, probably many of you know this, when we say the blessing over hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So lechem means bread. So that there is a connection between a milchama, between a battle and bread. Now, this is looked at a number of different ways, but just to offer this one approach, which is that this battle is for something that is going to give you bread, that's going to give you nourishment, that is going to give you sustenance, but you have to go out and fight for it. Now, we know this is true because going back to creation, one of the results of the eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil is that God says, from now on, you will earn your bread through the sweat of your brow. It's not going to be easy street. Now you're going to need to work for it. And that's how we are as well, is that we come into this world and we have to work, just how we have to earn our bread to eat, we have to earn our spiritual growth. It is not some sort of woohoo thing that you go sit up like, in an ashram and just, as my father used to say, contemplate your navel and you end up with enlightenment. That is not the way it works. It is down in this world, struggle and deal with all the challenges that come our way. And that is how you get your bread. And further, there's an idea that's called eating the bread of shame. The bread of shame is eating bread that you didn't earn. Now you can say, I know people, they want something for nothing, but the true human spirit that is in good emotional shape does not want something for nothing. We want to feel like we earned it. We did it. If you say to a child, I can either give you this clay bowl or I can give you some clay to make a clay bowl. Which would you rather have? They're going to want, Rav Gav does this beautiful class about how we want to have it. He talks about his daughter or son making a clay bowl and wanting to use it for cereal because they made it. There's just one problem. They weren't exactly so professional about it. So the bowl was really more like a plate. And so when you pour the milk on it, it's just kind of like goes all over, but it's their bowl and they made it. And there is that pride of accomplishment. It's your bread. You earned it. So this milchama is giving us true results. And it is the battle. It is the one that counts the most. It's the one that each of one of us is engaged in. So this is kitesay la milchama. When you go outside, when we go outside of our comfort zone, and this doesn't mean that it has to be the biggest thing ever. You know, when you start something, you start small. You know, you put your toe in the water and just kind of get started. That's amazing. That's a great thing. Our little grandson, this was kind of funny. He had a big breakthrough. Getting haircuts just freaks him out. And his hair grows so fast. I don't know how, he's only 4.5, and I don't know how many dozens of haircuts he's already had in his life. And each time resulted in like a screaming, crying thing. Didn't matter. All of a sudden he went to the barber with his father. His father got a haircut and he got a haircut and he was totally fine. So now he like matured into, it was like, this was bigger than going to pre-K. I was like, Mazel tov, you like did not scream for your haircut. That's so amazing. So I was like, everybody at their level, everybody has the thing that is tripping them up. Everybody has the thing that is blocking them. Everybody has the thing that's just a little scary for them, that needs to be able to get around and to get through, get over, get past, whatever it might be. And for everybody, it's different. And that's the milchama. And as they say, wars are not won, battles are won. You don't win the war without winning the battles. So we have to engage in the battle each and every day. But this is going to be a source of tremendous pride and joy and satisfaction for us. So that's our goal, is to figure out what that one thing might be. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. It could be you wake up and I have a phone call that's hard to make. I have a task that's hard for me to do. I have a person that's hard for me to relate to. It could be just about anything. I have an attitude that's hard for me to project. Whatever it might be. I'm shy, I'm aggressive, I'm too assertive, whatever it might be. Whatever it might be is our thing of going kitesay, of going outside. So kitesay la milchama, to the particular battle, al oivecha, to your enemy. And Hashem is going to help us. And it says Hashem helps us go in the direction we want to go. Many people think of God as the one who's throwing up the stumbling blocks. Well, God must not want me to do this because he's not letting me. It's like, no, God is there to help you. The stumbling blocks appear as part of the process, but God is the coach trying to help us through. So I have to tell you, I don't know when the last time was I have seen a movie. It's been, I don't know, a few years, but we were up in the mountains and we watched a movie called Click. Have any of you seen that movie, Click? It's Adam Sandler was in it. His life is just kind of overwhelming, and he wants a universal remote control to kind of help him manage his life. And so he can fast forward through things that he doesn't really want to do or that he doesn't have time for. Like he doesn't have time for his family because he needs to work and do all these other things, but he ends up the remote control has like artificial intelligence, and it learns like by his habits what it is he wants to click through. And so even if he just thinks about it, it will just take him and click him through. So he ends up like missing great parts of his life and his children growing up and all these things. It was a very interesting movie. There's a lot of gratuitous stuff. It's really not my thing, but I'm like, this is a really good Ellul message because it talks about how we are programmed on kind of like a rote, that we just do what we do. I did notice this with my phone, that when I go to type a message, that when I first got it, anytime I would write a capital SHA, it would always auto suggest and put in the word Shahid. Now, Shahid is a terrorist. That's a martyr. That's what a Shahid is. I'm like, why would my phone say that? So I don't know if that was like, that's the factory, whatever. I guess most people don't type SHA unless they are typing Shahid. It's taken my phone some time to learn that when I type capital SHA, that it's going to be Shabbos, that's what it usually says. So now it fills in Shabbos. And it also learned refuah. And when I do refuah and then I do SH, it automatically suggests shlema. I'm like, great, my phone is getting an education. But I thought this is really interesting. What would come up in our lives on the auto suggest, not just for our putting in a message, but our actions, our words. Do we always have like the same response for like different people? I don't know, whatever it is, we do a lot of things that we're just kind of like, our minds have learned what our response is. Or even when I'm typing on the on Gmail, there is an auto suggest function, and I often use it because it's faster, but sometimes it's like not good of what it says. So, someone says, I sent you the report, and it's like, thanks, I appreciate it. So I'll just click, tab, and then it automatically puts that in because it's learned what it is I usually put in. So this is the time at Rosh Hashanah that we're getting ready to evaluate, and we have to go through a process to say, what do we want to show up in the program? That if we are putting in something like, what is auto suggesting? Because the truth is, it's very tiring. It's very tiring to think of everything from scratch. We cannot think about everything from scratch. We don't have enough time and we don't have enough energy. So our brains are designed to get into a pattern. It makes things easy. Like if every day when you got up, you have to think like, let's see, should I brush my teeth or not? Should I take a shower or not? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? What's the long-term issue? What's the short-term? It's too much. So there has to be a habit. There have to be things that are rote. The question is, are those habits serving us well, or are they standing in our way? And do we need to kitesay? Do we need to get out and step out of that habit and do something a little bit differently so that we go in a new direction? So that our phone is going to say Shabbos instead of Shahid. It's going to say Refuah Shlema and not some other weird thing. This was really bad. I have no longer, but my nephew used to be married to a woman named Edith. So now my phone definitely doesn't know so much Hebrew. So one time I put in Edith and it turned it into idiot. That was a good thing. I caught that before I posted anything. So, but we might have some things like, oh, you must mean this. So I was like, no, that's not what I meant. So this is the time to kind of go through and see what comes up on the auto suggest, whether it's an action, an attitude, the way we speak. All of these things we need to recreate, and we are the co-programmers. So we are the co-programmers who get to decide what we want the program to look like. But it takes time. So just like it took my phone time to go from Shahid to Shabbos, it's not automatic. So there has to be a time period where we are getting into the groove we want. And that is the month of Elul. And that is what we're looking to do. So I want to go back to Shmuley. So Shmuley, and this beautiful, just little snippet of story about him. How does that happen? How does a person turn into that kind of person? That's a person who has been doing this for a while. That's a person who's probably keeps his eyes open and his heart open and is paying attention to what's going on with other people, who's maybe reading the signs, like not waiting until somebody is in a full-blown crisis mode, but maybe just notices that somebody is a little down. Notices that somebody just doesn't seem quite themselves, or I don't know, something. That this ability to see outside ourselves is part of what helps us in this going out. So there's going out of our habits, There's going also outside of ourselves and being sensitive to other people. We talked about this on Tuesday, and I know some of you were with me on Tuesday when we talked about the exquisite sensitivity that is commanded of us in many of the mitzvot that are presented in Parsha kitesay. Talking about when people are poor, this is where we see again a repeat of the laws of the tzedakah for the field, of leaving the tops of trees, of dropping, if you drop grain and leaving the corners of the field, of having compassion, joyful compassion, not rolling eyes compassion, like, oh, fine, they can have it, but of being aware of, like, there are people who need help, of somebody who has lost something, somebody whose animal who is feeling burdened, of how do we respond when we see people who are burdened, who are impoverished in any way, who have lost something, how can we be there for them? So when people are asking, what is our response to this horrible tragedy of Shmuley, Silverbrook? Like, our response is, how can we be there more for each other? What would Shmuley want us to do? What would Shmuley want us to do? He would want his legacy, he was only 19 years old, so he didn't have a lot of time to lead his life. But some people lead a big life in a short number of years, although we want everybody to have as many years as possible. So to do something that reflects and represents his kind of approach to kindness and sensitivity to other people. And so something like that. And so it could be something as simple, and this was what we did also when Donnie Morris was killed at Meron, is that people took on smiling at people, of being the first to greet others. That it's amazing how much, and especially now, with masks, you have to, so I do this thing with a mask is I pull it down quickly and smile at somebody and then put it back on so they can see, because some people have very smiley eyes, but I'm not one of those people. So like, you can't tell, other than they just close. They don't like really smile. So I want people to see that I'm smiling at them. But people can't see, or if they don't see, and how many people feel ignored. To give somebody recognition, and that is part of the sensitivity, is just, I see you. I see you. And the Torah specifically tells us, don't pretend you don't see. So if your friend loses something, if there's a lost object, don't pretend you don't see it because you don't want to bother returning it. And if you see that your brother or sister is in need, don't pretend that you don't see them. It's like, and don't close your heart and don't close your hand. So we would not need to be commanded these things unless we needed to be commanded these things. This means that it's human nature to say, oh, I didn't see anything. Yeah, no, I'm busy. Tuning out, I don't see it, ignoring it, being oblivious, all those things. That is human nature, and it's for us to overcome. So many of the mitzvot in kitesay are about overcoming our natural inclination. Some have defined that the Yetzer Hara is nothing more than the natural inclination gone unchecked. It's the natural inclination to be concerned about me, myself, and I. I want the most, I want the best, and I want it now. Like, what's so hard to understand about that? I want to have the most. Even a 2-year-old. When we were in Cleveland for my daughter-in-law's brother's wedding. So for the ufruf, they throw candy. Well, somebody had thank you, Rachel, carry around an index card to hold up. It says, I'm smiling. That gets a great laugh. I'm sure that's very cute. I'm smiling. Or one, like, I think a mask that says, I'm happy to see you, or something like that, shows it. Anyway, at the ufruf, they were throwing candy. So somebody had the brilliant idea of using a tallis bag to collect all the candy, because otherwise kids are limited to how much they can just hold in their hand or their shirt or whatever. But I've never been to an ufruf in any decade where the little kids picked up one candy and went back to their seat. I have never seen that. Nobody does that, because that's not human nature. It's like, how much can I get? And then you're happy if they share it with somebody, but everyone wants as much as they can get. So if we want as much as we can get, then I'm usually focused on how I'm protecting what I have. So the laws of kitesay, which are, you want all the produce, you can't even have all of what you worked for. You have to leave the top of the tree. Anything you drop and forget has to be left. You have to give the corners. It's not all for you. So just all of this, this is a training program for how to live in the world with our Yetzer Hara in check, and a Yetzer Tov, a good inclination, superimposed. Because then it makes me say, instead of seeing, I want everything for myself, is to say, you know what? I know I want everything for myself. And you know what? So does that other person. That other person also wants. They want the thing that they lost. They want the thing that, was falling about. It says, Rav Hirsch says this is about moral maturity. That's a very beautiful description. Moral maturity. And it takes training. And we are all in training. It's a lifelong challenge. There's not such a thing where we graduate. This is a lifelong, beautiful exploration of who we can become. And who we can become is really incredibly great people. So we hope, that what they say, that you should write what you want think about what you want written on your headstone, and then live that life, or what you want said at your eulogy, and live that life. It's like, what would you want people to say? Oh, that's interesting, Beth Ann, that the masks help you focus on eyes. That's true, is looking at people's eyes and seeing them. And then for me, it's hard because between my bangs and my glasses and everything else, it's like, hard to see. But yeah, that's a really good idea. And also waving. When we pass people, we say hello, and we hold up, a hand and wave so that people know that we're acknowledging them. So we just have to make more of an effort. So that effort is really one that's called for all the time, whether there are masks or no masks. So this is kitesay, that it starts at the beginning of saying, when you go out to this battle to earn your bread, so that your accomplishments will be yours. And then it proceeds to give all of these different mitzvot that we can do that will help us achieve that moral maturity that we are all looking for, so that we can say, I'm in a better position. I am a different person. I'm an expanded version. I'm an updated, upgraded, new version of myself for the new year. So I remember, when I was growing up, we got new clothes at Rosh Hashanah and Pesach. Got black patent shoes and a fall dress at Rosh Hashanah, white patent shoes and a spring dress at Pesach. And for many people, don't necessarily connect that the new clothing, which we're supposed to have for the holiday, you're supposed to have new clothing, is to remind us that we want to be new on the inside too. If it's only cloth deep, then we somehow miss the mark. On the other hand, we are supposed to use the physical world to help us. So we are supposed to get something new so that we can feel renewed. In fact, the bracha that you give somebody who buys a new garment, and you see somebody's wearing something new, the blessing you give somebody is, to a man, titchadesh, or to a woman, titchadshi. Titchadesh or titchadshi means, may you be renewed. It's in the Hebrew grammar, it's called a reflexive verb, mean to do to yourself. It happens to oneself. And it means, may this new clothing have a spiritual impact on you of renewal. May you feel renewed through this wearing of this new thing. Love it. It's a spiritual reason to go shopping. So to get something new, we're supposed to have that. We have, we try to do everything, have something new. We have on Rosh Hashanah, we have simanim, we have symbols. It's the only holiday where we have creative use of homemade symbols. When I say homemade, meaning you can create your own. So we're all familiar with apples and honey that you should have, and the blessing you say, Shetachadesh aleinu shana tova u'metuka, that God should renew us for a year that is good and sweet. Dip the apples in the honey. But there are a whole bunch of other things that we eat as well that are all considered omens for goodness and new things in the new year. And in the most, even in the most whatever, called right-wing whatever, you can create your own. So if there is something, a play on words, it can be a play on words in English, it can be a play on words in Hebrew. The one that comes to mind, I didn't create this, is celery stick with peanut butter or cashews or peanut butter and raisins in it to eat that. And it says you should have a raise in celery. Thank you. So it can be even stupid. It can be whatever you want, and it can make people laugh, and kids can do it, and your guests can do it. So if you're having a gathering for your Rosh Hashanah meal to invite people, someone says, well, what can I bring? It says, bring something that embodies, your wish for the new year. Some people do like a candy bar, payday, whatever. There's like, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, because the idea is that we're supposed to use props, and the physical world provides props for us to help us on our spiritual. Let us have a raisin salary. Thank you. Let us have a raisin salary. So wrap your celery in lettuce as well. Cute. So this is fun. So we don't see this by anything else. We don't even do this at Pesach. Some people have kind of gone in that direction. We don't do this for Pesach, but we do it for Rosh Hashanah. All these things are about how we want to start the year. So start thinking about it now. It's a little hard to think about it Erev Rosh Hashanah as you're getting, as you're setting your table. That's a little bit too late. But now during Elul, maybe think about what you'd like, even a symbol, even if it's a piece of jewelry, picture, a saying, something that embodies for you what you want for yourself for the new year. What embodies what you want for the new year in the physical world, as well as in your spiritual world as well. So this is our goal. So this kitesay la milchama is, on one hand, it's like, I don't want to go to a milchama. I don't want to go to a battle. I'm like a homebody. I like to stay the way I am. And yet going outside of our comfort zone is the place where we're going to really enjoy ourselves. We will have pleasure, physical and spiritual and emotional pleasure from the accomplishment, and that God is going to help us do it. So this is what we want to focus on for these next 10 days of the second period of the month of Elul, is thinking about how can I go out of my comfort zone today in a small way, just to step out and make that happen. Any thoughts, questions, ideas, or anything else? Or if you've seen something really cute for your Rosh Hashanah that somebody has done that was fun. Anybody have anything? Okay, you can also Google it. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can also Google it and find out. It's called simanim. A siman is a sign. Simanim for Rosh Hashanah. And there's a whole list. If you have a Rosh Hashanah machzer, it has the traditional ones. Usually either the Eastside Kosher Deli or Hillel Academy sells a platter of some of the common simanim. What did you say, Tova?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I unmuted because I wanted to say it's not cute, but the fish with the head and the tail.
Yes, so
you want to be the head and
the
not
head
the
of
tail.
the fish. So to say we want to be like the head and not the tail. I said I was at someone's house and they had the head of a fish, and I'm like,
the eyeballs are a little hard to take.
I said, as long as it's not looking at me, just like face it the other way. The meat tasted just fine. It was actually very delicious, but I'm like, I just can't have something looking at me like that. But some people use fish gummies that you can get, I think, at Trader Joe's. So you can have fish gummies and just cut their heads off and have their heads. So, you can do all sorts of other things. There's also a lot of them are plays on words in Hebrew. But yeah, the head of the fish and not to be like the tail. So yeah, all these different things are available for us. Mostly it means that we're trying to create hints. We're trying to create a hint for ourselves for what we want to be. That you could say, well, let's just all sit down very seriously on Rosh Hashanah. Let's just talk about my goals for the year are that I, should have a raise in salary and I should have spiritual growth. That's cute. Leaks. So we don't have any leaks in our plumbing, personal or in our homes. That's right. That's very good. I don't want any leaks. I don't want my income leaking out. I don't want my water leaking. I don't want anything leaking. That's very good. Very cute. So all of these things that we want hints, says because hints penetrate our minds because they're not so smack in our face. They're hints. So it says wise people take a hint. And that when we talked about that last week, wise people take a hint. And when we have hints around ourselves, it gives us clues and cues as to what it is we want to do, what it is we want to be. And when we create it ourselves, or we have something physical or tangible, something we eat, all these things are edible. A true case of edibles. All of our symbols are edibles. It's not supposed to be something that you just look at. It's supposed to be something you can eat and digest and really take in and incorporate and become part of ourselves. So that's our goal. And this is our work. And it should be in memory of Shmuley. And his neshama should just have an aliyah and his family comfort and the Jewish people. And we should have no more sadness. I will say one other thing that's just related to his name. I'm assuming his name is Shmuel, just because Shmuley is normally the name for Shmuel. And Shmuel is the name of the baby that Hannah prayed for, and we read that on Rosh Hashanah. And Shmuel means, I always thought it came from Shmuel, that God heard my prayer, that Hannah named him that because God heard my prayer, from the word lishmoa, but it's not that. Shmuel comes from the word I asked to borrow. I asked God to loan him to me. And we talk about the difference between give me, and loan. And when we think about our lives being on loan, rather than belonging to us, we have a different approach. Because God loans us all of our faculties. But I'm sure many of you have had family members or people who have lost their health. If they've lost their mental acuity and they have Alzheimer's or dementia or something else, it's like nothing belongs to us. You can say, I don't understand. It's like, God forbid, it's like, after my father-in-law had a stroke, it's like, he was so brilliant and he was so articulate. And now what? It's like, because it's not ours forever, we do not have ownership of ourselves. Everything we have is on loan to us. And when something's on loan to us, we have a different attitude. There's a little bit more sense of awe and responsibility and not complacency. It's like, I don't know how long I have use of this, but it's not mine. So Shmuel is that Hannah went from asking like, I want a baby, to loan me a child. And that's what Shmuel means. So Shmuley, our Shmuley, was loaned to this world for a very short time. And our job is to make sure that his memory ripples out and has a very wide and long-lasting impact. And that's our job to do that. So he was Shmuel, it means loaned from God. So Bezrat Hashem, God willing, that we will understand that our own lives are in that same category. Even if we live to 120, it's all on loan. That's right. God gives and God takes away. And we just, we say it and then we don't really have it come in. We even supposed to understand that's what Rosh Hashanah is. Rosh Hashanah is God's decision of whether the world should be recreated. We think, well, of course it's going to be recreated. It was created last year. I mean, I went through Rosh Hashanah, everything's like, so it's not just my life, it's all of creation. This is the judgment on creation. Like, should it be renewed? It said God created reality to last for 1 year. And every year it comes up for renewal. And it's not like those things that you belong to that said you're automatically renewed until you cancel. We think that's what it means, but this is not that. This is up for renewal, and I want to know whether I should renew it. And so we want to say, yes, I want to be part of your world for another year. I want you to renew the world, and I want to be in it. So that's our goal, and loan me another year of life. So that's our God. That is our goal. That's our mission. And it is a combination of awesome and joyful, inspiring and daunting, all at the same time. And that's okay. That is what life is. And we're all old enough to know that is exactly what life is. Ladies, I want to wish you a wonderful Shabbos. It should be restful, inspiring, and can't wait to see you next week.
Yasher koach.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So if I'm
Ellen-
sorry, I keep swatting here. There's a little
Yeah.
bug that keeps flying.
Yeah.
out.
Ellen, Helene here.
Yes.
For 1 second, I canceled my Delta and I'm getting the United, and it's the
Great.
early one that comes in at 9:35 is what everyone's on.
Yes,
To
yes.
make sure before I did that.
yes.
Okay,
that's the
good.
one.
Thank
I
you.
sent
Have a
the
good Shabbos.
actual, I sent the flight numbers, so you can see it in the
And I
email.
wanted to make positive.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I don't have my.
Yes, Patricia.
Helene should call me. I just did it last night and I can give her some clues.
Oh, okay. Helene, do you want to call Patricia?
What's
Sorry.
your number?
Sorry, 720-218-1159.
1159. It'll be later this afternoon. Thank
That would
you.
be great. Okay, great. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ladies. All
Bye.
right. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
You too.
Take care.
She wants out. I was gonna say something, I'll tell you instead.
Tova, were you going to say something else? Did you want to say?
Did I leave? Oh,
No,
yeah.
you didn't leave. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was just gonna insert something about Rosh Hashanah,
Sure.
if that's okay. Is that okay?
Sure. Go
The
ahead.
conversation I had with somebody once, I was talking about how it's the Jewish New Year coming up, and they weren't Jewish, and they said, "Oh, cool. Are you gonna like drink and party and throw confetti and blah, blah, blah?" And I said, "No,
Nope.
it's more kind of like a board meeting."
That's great. That's great.
I
That's a
just wanted
very
to
good.
share that, and I was like, "Oh
That's-
yeah, that's what I said to myself. That's a really good one. It's like we're having a board meeting with God."
That's right. It's a board meeting. You could say it's our performance report time. It's our strategic planning meeting. It's like, so those are very, very good metaphors. But it comes along with a retreat, like a company retreat. So we do end up with some food and some, nice things.
Oh yeah,
to-
yeah, we get to eat. Yeah, we get to eat
But
really well.
definitely
Fish
more on the
heads,
board,
things like
definitely more
that.
on the board meeting side than on the confetti and whatever.
Exactly. I
That's
just thought it
great.
was funny when they asked me that. I'm like,
I'm glad
"Confetti?
you had that answer ready to go. That's a good
Confetti
answer.
Party? I don't know about that.
Not exactly.
Anyway,
All
thank
right,
you. Thank you.
ladies, it's good to see you.
And thank you for giving us strength with what happened yesterday. I was, all I could think about is, oh, I need to hear Ellen's share tomorrow just to help me. It was very, very hard. And thank God we were into the next day, and the Jewish way, we just have to keep going. Did I just get thrown out? No. We just have to keep going,
That's right.
and we're
That's
good
our
at it.
answer.
We're good at
That's our
that.
answer.
Thank God we're good at that.
We flood the world with good. That's our only antidote.
So thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. All right, take care. Have a good Shabbos. Marcia, do you know anything else about Jerry's funeral or anything?
What I know it was today because, of course, but the thing I didn't write back to you because it was, of course, too late, is that they were asking for shomrim, which is not real typical of Rodef, And
Oh.
I guess he was at the Shalom funeral place. And they said they needed somebody, as soon as possible till 8 a.m. today. So of course that's over.
Oh,
But I haven't seen anything, but I know we could call. I haven't been driving for so long, and I really didn't feel that close to her, but I did admire her. And so as far as, where they're going to be holding their Shiva, if that's something you're interested in, I'm sure the office would have information.
okay, I'll be in touch with them and find out.
All right, you be well. And what I missed, where did Audrey and Michael move? Did they move to Vero Beach?
No, they moved to Parkland, Florida, near Boca
Oh.
Raton.
Boy, okay.
Really
Excellent.
gorgeous neighborhood. So different. I mean, so different from the Upper East Side. Just like these huge lawns and just so different. I mean, people have golf carts that they drive around on. I said to Audrey, I'm like, you should get a golf cart. That's so funny. So anyway, and I see Tova, you have somebody with you.
I do. I have a friend.
Debbie Jacobs.
I have a house
Hi.
guest.
Thank
How
you
are you?
again.
My pleasure, Marcia. Nice to see you.
Very nice to see you as well. And I should tell you that my husband actually went last night for Jerry.
Oh, he
and
did.
He did. Mhm.
Oh, that's
So
very nice.
I came up with to be with Tova today up in Snowmass. So I was, not able to be there for the funeral, but we just were with them for Shabbos dinner 2 weeks ago or last week or something like that. So yeah. So,
Well, I didn't know him. I only met him just a few months ago for the first time, but Dale, of course, has been coming to our Parsha class for a really long time.
right. So yeah, we've known them for quite some time, and just recently with COVID kind of being more lifted, we've been going to dinner and they came to our house for Shabbos and vice versa. So we were, just seeing them, and he just recently said that he knew he was very, very ill, and there was a new something new that had come up that he just kind of knew that it was a little bit more imminent, so I'm sure they were prepared for it. But
Baruch Dayan Emet. I'm very sorry to hear. Okay. All right, ladies. Well, it's nice to see you. And Tova, you're on mute. So
Just a quick question. Is there still that one spot on the trip?
actually, no, we are filled.
Oh, because when at the meeting, there was one spot, you thought.
Yeah, so Pam Wolf's daughter is coming.
Oh, okay.
So
Let me know if it changes, okay?
I
So
sure
I'm
will.
Still in touch with this woman in Texas.
I absolutely will let you know.
And I've mentioned it to Debbie, but Debbie's not.
I can't do it this year. Yeah, but that would be nice.
Maybe in the future you can join us.
Of course, that would be great. I would like to do that. We were hoping to go in October, Larry and I ourselves. So I don't know now with the way things are, it's, doesn't seem like it will be very easy in this particular moment, but we'll see if we can work through it.
Yes, it's everything is up in the air.
Yes.
But we plan, we don't predict. That's you, right?
That's right. We make preparations, not predictions.
Right.
That's all we can do.
We keep making preparations. We don't stop doing that.
Yeah. What is it? We said, Eisenhower said, or I don't know, somebody said, plans are meaningless, but planning is essential.
Mm.
Oh, that's a good one. All right.
So, all right, ladies, have a good Shabbos.
You too. Thank
And
you.
welcome to my place in Snowmass, by the way.
Oh, thank
I haven't
you.
ever done this from Snowmass. This is the first.
That's so nice.
Yeah, you can see my cabinets, right?
I see cabinets. I see your wine glasses. I see all of it.
You gotta,
All
you have
right.
to, you gotta be up here soon.
Soon.